Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Wolfpacker Show. My name's Ethan McDowell. I'm your host, and I am joined, as I always am, by Noah Fleischman. Today, we're going to talk everything to do with NC State's win over Miami, a 20-6 victory at Carter Finley Stadium in primetime on the ACC network. NC State's second consecutive ACC win after beating Clemson next week, and the Wolfpack is starting to roll a little bit. So we're going to dive into everything to do with that matchup. But first, a quick housekeeping note. Noah and I are both writers for the Wolfpacker.com. That is NC State's site on the On3 network. Go check it out right now for premium access to our message board, premium scoops, recruiting, team, anything to do with NC State football and men's and women's basketball, which is about to get started up soon. Go check it out. It's only $1 for that premium access. So go join an awesome community of NC State fans on our message board and check out all of our premium content over there. It's at thewolfpacker.com. All right, Noah. So, like I said, 20-6. NC State holds the Hurricanes without a touchdown. They hold them without a point from like the first possession of the second quarter on. Just an incredible defensive performance for NC State. The offense did enough, trying out a bunch of weird stuff that some of it worked really well. So Noah, before we dive into the nitty-gritty details here, just what are your just overall big picture impressions of NC State's win?
I think it shows this team's resolve, their ability to evolve. This offense is evolving. It's not pretty at all. I mean, you look at the numbers from this game. As you say, it's outgained again. This one not as bad as the Clemson game last week. They got 231 yards to Miami's 292. So not that bad, not as as bad, but they first downs. Miami had 19, NC State had 12. But creativity helped. The offense hit a lull to start the second half, 3 straight 3-and-outs. Then all of a sudden, 2 scoring drives to end the game, 10 points in the fourth quarter, wins by 14. Take that 10 times out of 10. Things happened. We saw a new wrinkle. I'm gonna say right now. We in our board predictions before the game. You asked the leading rusher. I took a shot. I said Brennan Armstrong. Well, Brennan Armstrong was leading rusher. So you know what? I think I might be able to see into the future a little bit. He had 8 carries, 51 yards, 15-yard run on that touchdown drive. Got hit after the play, or horse collar tackle on the tackle. At another 15, 30-yard swing there by Brennan Armstrong helped them get down and score a touchdown. Pretty big, play in the game. But overall, not a pretty offensive game. Did enough to win. The defense, you can't say much about this defense. It's one of the best I think that we've seen. It's the reason why NC State is 6-3, bowl eligible, and at the end of the day, defense wins championships, and NC State's defense is showing that they can kind of carry this team a little bit. When the offense kind of hits a lull, the defense is there to pick them up.
Noah, on my way to the stadium, I was thinking about it, and I think about last season very fondly, despite what I am sure some NC State fans view as a disappointment, that 8-5 year last year, because it was my first year on the beat. It was my first time around this program. And for so many of those games, it just worked out on the schedule that it was always a prime time, ACC network, 8 p.m. kickoff. They played a lot of those last year. And I was on my way to the game, and I was just like, man, it feels like last year again. And then that game, holy crap, it felt like last year. The defense played just lights out football and forced 4 turnovers and gave the offense the opportunities to make a few big plays, mount a huge drive, and pull away eventually from the Hurricanes. It was a really impressive performance on defense. I mean, what more can you say about Peyton Wilson? He had 16 tackles. Jaylen Scott, I thought it was his best game of the season. He had an outstanding game. And, this was the ACC's 3rd leading scoring offense coming into this matchup, right? And they scored 6 points. That's obviously a season low for them. Offensively, I mean, the passing offense was not really working as much as I'm sure they wanted it to, which was a little surprising because that was probably Miami's weakness coming into today. But, they got the rushing game going a little bit at times, and that was thanks to Brennan Armstrong, who, man, 6-year senior, comes in as the starting quarterback. After he got benched, he could have thrown in the towel. And I think he deserves so much praise, so much respect from us, from the coaches, from the Wolfpack fans, for putting his head down, embracing his team, embracing his new role, and playing a really, really impressive game. And Noah, they had him in the backfield with MJ. They would have him split out as a tight end. They'd have him as a running at taking direct snaps. He was doing everything. Robert and I had a just really cool package for him, and it's clear. I mean, he's enjoying it. I mean, there was one play where MJ Morris scrambled and took a huge shot on the sideline as he was fighting for a first down. And then just a few plays later in the game, Brennan Armstrong scrambles. A Miami defender tries to hit him as he's headed toward the sideline, and Brennan Armstrong lowers the shoulder and delivers a massive hit. It shows how well those two signal callers can complement each other, right? And it seems like last night Robert and I figured out how we can work both of those quarterbacks into the game plan, where you're taking advantage of MJ's dynamic arm, dynamic poise in the pocket, ability to evade pressure, and deliver throws downfield. That's still there. That was still a big part of the game, despite only 123 passing yards. He still made a couple really important plays in this game. But then you have Armstrong coming in there to make a few monumental, huge runs on the ground as well. So, that was really cool to see out of the team there. Noah, before we kind of get into our keys of the game, we have to talk about Dave Dorne. He is now the all-time winningest coach in NC State history. This was win number 78 for him, win number 101 as a head coach over his two stops at NC State and Northern Illinois. And he surpassed Earl Edwards, one of the coaching legends with the Wolfpack. And now he's, firmly etched in the Wolfpack history. And it was cool listening to him after the game, because I think what NC State fans have all known, like earlier in his tenure, other teams were trying to hire him away, right? And he listened to those job opportunities, but he decided to come back. And when he did, he talked to the team and said, I want to become NC State's all-time winningest coach. That's why I'm staying, and that's why I'm staying for the foreseeable future. And he got there. And he got there, and we've written about it extensively. We've talked about it on this podcast. He did it by just sticking to the identity that got him there. That's just really cool. I think that's what makes this program pretty special. I think even when it's frustrating, even when there's a 24-3 defeat to Duke mixed in there, there's going to be back-to-back wins over Clemson and Miami as well. It was just an impressive performance. Noah, just any impressions that you had from how this season has gone for Coach Dorne, the emotions after the game, just any thoughts on Dave Dorne becoming potentially one of the greatest coaches in program history.
It's kind of what he is, what he preaches. I mean, this is a team that it had really high expectations at the beginning of the year, right? They haven't really gotten to that point yet. They're still 6-3. They've won back-to-back games, as you said, over Clemson, Miami. Miami was the only team in the ACC Dave Dorne hadn't beaten yet. So now, and until next year at least, when SMU, Cal, and Stanford, then he's got 3 more teams to add to that list. But I think this just says what he is, what he's about. His team kind of rallies around him. We've heard from players all week, talking about how he's always there, hyping him up, and they feed off of his energy. And I think that last night's game just shows, what kind of energy he really brings to this team. The team shows it on the field, and then they fight, just like he fights. So yes, they're not hitting their expectations of being that probably people thought they could be a double-digit win team. It's still technically capable of happening. But they had a couple games where it didn't go their way. Louisville and Duke are probably the 2 biggest ones, and Notre Dame as well. Their 3 losses. So overall, impressive win though. 20-6, not allowed touchdown for the first time against an ACC opponent since 2011. So just putting it out there, it was a game over North Carolina. They won 13-0. So first time in Dave Dorne's career, he's held the ACC team off the scoreboard, at least out of the end zone, because they scored 6 points. But yeah, I think Dave Dorn is definitely has a case to be one of the best coaches in NC State history. He's maybe the most consistent coach in NC State history. If you look at his record, he only has 2 seasons where they've had less than 7 wins. This year, they're on track to get above 7 wins again. So, and he makes a lot of bowls and things like that. I know people want the ACC title, and I think he's capable of winning one. But it just maybe this year's not the year. I mean, people are probably tired of hearing that every year, but I definitely think he's a talented enough coach and a smart enough coach to get them into an ACC title game. And the way they're playing right now, you never know. We can talk about it. There's technically a chance, but I definitely think before his time in Raleigh is over, he'll have an ACC title game appearance.
Yeah, I think it's just important to stress not to take him for granted. I think there are 50 schools in the country right now that would love to have the past 11 seasons that Dave Dorn has had in Raleigh. It is a consistent product of successful football with a brand that closely matches the university, right? That hard, tough together mentality matches what I can tell what NC State's is looking for in its football team, right? Like Dorn says, the quote he always shares, and he says, the Wolfpack's not for soft people, right? And that's the culture he's built here. And I think this season they've shown they're not soft. You know how easy it would be to throw in the towel, losing to Duke by 21 points and then going into a bye week? Many teams would have called it a season. NC State didn't. They turned their season around. It was a massive turning point that bye week. And it is a testament to the coaches, it is a testament to the players, and it is a testament to the culture of the program that they were able to rally all together and produce, a couple of elite performances on defense and an offense that is continuing to evolve, like you said, and round into what they want it to be. Speaking of turning points, every week we like to give our turning point for the game, a moment, a play, a drive where NC State turned it around, swung the momentum in their favor, or vice versa. In this case, there's quite a few, honestly. There's a lot of good moments. This was a game of some big plays with those four turnovers, a few explosive passing plays. But Noah, looking through the game, looking through all the exciting moments from this matchup, what would you pick as the turning point for NC State's win over Miami?
You're definitely right that there's a ton of different moments. This game was full of swings back and forth. It was basically who was going to stay on their feet at the end of the game, right? Who's going to get off the mat of the boxing ring and stand back up and throw a last punch, and that was NC State. I think when you look at turning point in the game, I'll take the obvious one, which is the 97-yard drive in the fourth quarter. The offense had gone 3-and-out on its previous 3 drives for a combined 5 yards of offense to open the second half. 5. They turn around and come out with an 8-play, 97-yard drive. Had a little help on a 15-yard penalty, but they take that. It's football. And I think it's the biggest turning point. They go up, score a touchdown. Because at the time, it was 10-6. One-score game.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody's game. Put the touch on the board, 17-6, and then next drive, pick a field goal at the goal line. So I think that was the biggest, turning point for NC State. I think once they scored that touchdown, one of us looked at each other and goes, NC State's going to win this game. And that's what happened.
Yeah, for that entire third quarter, it felt eerily similar to the Louisville game, in my opinion, where it felt like, oh man, like the defense, it's doing it again. It is just playing out of its mind. But NC State's offense couldn't get anything going. And Miami was starting to knock on the door, right? They missed a field goal in that quarter. And, they were starting to get a little bit of momentum going. So they drive all the way down to NC State's 3-yard line. They're facing 4th and goal. And this is my turning point where Shaheem Battle comes up, delivers a great hit, stuffs Miami in the middle of what is Shaheem's might be his best game of the season. He played a fantastic game. Both cornerbacks, too. Aiden White deserves a lot of credit for his interception and the job he did covering Miami's receivers as well. But man, what a stop. What a stand. I don't think you can really disagree with Miami's decision to go for it there. They were cooking on that drive. They had some good momentum. But man, that was absolutely the turning point of the game for me. And obviously it turned into what is basically a 14-point swing when you tack on that touchdown as well. And this is not a turning point, but I wanted to mention it, is against pocket passers this season, the defense is reliably just absolutely frazzling opposing quarterbacks. And these are talented guys. Jack Plummer, Tyler Van Dyke this season, man, like they're the NC State has done a great job keeping them off script and getting pressure against good offensive lines and doing so in creative ways. They had 7 quarterback hurries against Miami. That's significant. Davin Van, despite going against a really good offensive line, one of the best pass protecting offensive lines in the ACC, he had 3 quarterback hurries on his own. If you're wondering, he's an all ACC player. I don't care about the stats, by the way. He is an all ACC defensive lineman. He better get a spot on there as well. So just, hats off to the defense, keeping Tyler Van Dyke off script. He ended up 21 for 38, 0 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. So really, really nice job by the defense there. All right. We're going to come back with some game balls, recognize some of our players of the game, because there's, again, a lot of options for that. But first, I want to recognize our sponsor, Game Time. Game Time is a ticket buying and selling marketplace. Whether you're looking for tickets to the next NC State game, or you're looking for concert tickets, tickets to a Canes game, anything you could possibly want, the Game Time app has it, and it has it with good deals on the app, or you can go check it out at gametime.co. It's not .com, that's gametime.co. And I have the app. I use the app. And my favorite thing about it is when you log on and you look at, say, I have the UNC-NC State game pulled up on my phone right now, and I'll hold it up for those watching on YouTube, is you can see the exact view that you'd be looking at from your seat. Takes a step out of the ticket buying process. I really appreciate that. And it just makes it, easy to use interface that I appreciate. Right now, the cheapest game to the UNC-NC State Senior Day game is $95. Those tickets dropped a little bit last week. Now the prices are climbing back up. So go check it out. Not many tickets available for this one. So go check it out on the Game Time app. And if you do, use code Wolfpack. That's all caps Wolfpack, and you'll get $20 off your first purchase. So a cool deal to go along with it. Go check it out. It's Game Time, gametime.co on your web browser, or just download the Game Time app on any app marketplace. All right, Noah, it's game ball time. Something that stood out to me about this game is earlier in the year when we've been doing game balls, it was a pretty consistent cast of characters, right? It was there were 3 or 4 guys that were consistently making the majority of the plays for NC State. And that was both a good thing. You have maybe the best freshman in the country in Kevin Concepcion. You have the best linebacker in the ACC, maybe the best defensive player in the country in Peyton Wilson, right? That's great. And they've been so good. They've been elite. The nice thing is, against Miami, they still played great games, but the whole team stepped up around them. The whole team. This was a collective win. It was a very impressive collective win. So there's a ton of fun options for game balls that gives us an opportunity to recognize players we haven't maybe talked about this season. So Noah, who's your first game ball? Who's the first player you want to talk a little bit about?
Give it to Brennan Armstrong. He's a guy. He's stuck around. You talk about the team could have thrown the towel in. He could have thrown the towel in after 5 games in. When Coach Dorne sits him down and says, "Hey, it's MJ Morris's time to start." Instead, he does the opposite. He sticks around. He's a good teammate. He helps MJ, becomes a runner. This is the first game we've seen him be really successful as a running quarterback. Like that is, he ran well when he was a starter, but like the first time they put him into the package, you're like, most likely He's taking the ball and going. We talked about what he did, 51 yards on 8 carries. I think that deserves a game ball, not only for his performance, but just for, everything he's gone through in the past, month or so. And I thought it was cool, Dave Dorne talked about after the game, NC State fans cheered for him when he had that big run. And I think that was something the players really noticed, because they also noticed when he was booed against Marshall for coming in the game and not doing, the play just didn't go successfully. So he's bounced back. I think they're setting up something really big for him with this package. He hasn't thrown the ball yet, and it's going to come. This is a guy who's too good of an arm to not throw the football. So I think in one of these games, don't know when, there's 3 games left, Wake, Virginia Tech, and North Carolina. He's gonna come in, pretend like he's running, and someone's going to be open downfield. It's going to be an explosive play, and it's going to be something that's going to be fun to watch. I think that, you can't not expect that to come at some point. I think they're just waiting for the right time and putting film out there saying, hey, he's just going to run the ball and that's it. And then, be able to just do a little jump pass or take a shot downfield.
I was really impressed with him. I was really impressed with the offensive line too. I thought they cleared some lanes for him run blocking wise. And then, Armstrong did a good job following those blocks, picking up some tough yards. I thought just overall those packages worked really well executed, considering I bet they've only been practicing them for a few weeks at this point. So, hats off to the defense there. I mean, the offensive line there. And really impressive game. I'm sticking with the offense for my first game ball. I want to recognize Kendrick Raphael. First career touchdown. That's awesome. Good for him. That is 31-yard run. The touchdown. He pinballed off like a Miami defender. Miami's defense, that's a tough tackling team. But they couldn't bring him down. Again, the offensive line. Just really good blocking downfield. Penix at the line of scrimmage just absolutely just sealed off a Miami defender, sprung the run, and then the lineman got downfield, created space for Kendrick to do his thing. And he's a Florida kid. Miami did not offer him coming out of high school. Yeah, that was a mistake because he just helped put away the game against the Hurricanes. So shout out to Kendrick. Continue to emerge into a bigger role in this offense. And this seems like a start of a really promising career for the former 4-star running back. And then my second game ball, I'm just going to stay in the Wolfpack backfield. I'm going to give it to Jordan Poole because, the guy was playing linebacker a month ago. He's, former electric high school running back, put up huge numbers. And, approached the staff about making the position change and switched to running back a few weeks ago. And he's been practicing really well. I played some blocking snaps against Clemson, played well. And I asked Coach Dorne about him this week. And I was like, hey, how is he, continuing to embrace that role? And Coach Dorne pulled a fast one on me, telling me that, he's been doing good. But he didn't know if you'd see it in the game plan this week. Turns out they had a play drawn up for number 33. They got him out in the flat for a passing play, and he found the end zone. His first offensive touch of his Wolfpack career goes for a score, and just super happy for him. And kind of wondering, like, maybe this could just be a permanent switch. Maybe he could just be like that fullback, type of role, because he played really well. I thought I was impressed by him against Miami again. And I think he adds something significant to this offense that, that kind of wasn't there before. So that the 2 running backs get my 2 game balls. But Noah, do you have another one you'd like to give out?
I do. You stay on the offensive side, I'll stay on the defensive side. Well, or I guess I took an offensive play. But you know what? To the defensive side of the ball we go. And it was a linebacker that played well, but it's not named Peyton Wills. Jaylen Scott may have had the most underrated game in this game. 9 tackles, a pass breakup, and a quarterback hurry. And on this pass breakup, where we were watching live, he had a free run right at Tyler Van Dyke off the edge. Instead, he literally sat there, contained him, didn't let him run. Van Dyke stared the receiver down that was right behind Jaylen Scott. All he did, jump up in the air, batted it down. and he read the play perfectly.
Yep.
He's played really well. His career is coming to an end, in 3 games or 4 games, however many games are left in the season for NC State. And he's playing really, really well right now, and playing well right next to arguably the best linebacker in the country, which is, probably a little intimidating task to do, to play against someone who's playing at that high of a level, to try to match it. And he did. I think his best impression of Peyton Wilson last night with 9 tackles, second on the team. So give it to Jaylen Scott. He definitely deserves, some recognition just for that. And, he reflected on his career this week and did a lot. So I think, he's a guy who's playing well and is going to need to keep playing well, I think, for this NC State defense in these last 3, 4, 5 games. 5 games, Ethan. 5 games. It could happen.
I almost gave a game ball to Scott, too. I thought it was his best game of the season. What impressed me was, Miami's running backs are very talented. Mark Fletcher Jr. is a really good player. He's going to be – it might already be an elite running back in the ACC. But they would bounce outside a couple times, and it would be a situation where it was Jaylen Scott there to stop them for a 2 to 3 yard gain, or if they broke that tackle, they were going for a first down pretty much. And Scott reliably made that play. It was huge. That was a play that NC State really needed to make in this game, and Scott came up time and time again. So shout out to him. Shout out to the senior for, in his second to last home game, really, really showing up big time. Before we move on, I want to give one more honorable mention to Brandon Cisse. Got his first career interception on the last play of the game. We've talked about him a little bit recently, and I've written some about just his consistent improvement. He's just making a lot of really positive steps forward right now. And I think he's going to be a really, really good player for NC State, down the road. I think when, Shaheem Battle and Aiden White are moved on to the professional ranks whenever they choose to do so, I think Brandon Cisse will be able to slot right in there and be a really, really good player. And he already is right now in the dime package. He's playing at a really high level. All right. So, no, you've mentioned it a few times, but there are 3 games left in the regular season. Next up, we've got Wake Forest. Noah and I will be hitting the road for Winston-Salem on Saturday. 2 p.m. kickoff on every NC State fan's favorite, the CW network. NC State is 3-0 on the CW network so far this season. So now you have to take a look and be like, all right, Wake Forest coming off a loss to Duke, where Duke had their 3rd-string true freshman quarterback. Wake Forest in a really down year by their standards right now. It's also at Wake Forest. That is a house of horrors for NC State. That is a tough place to play for NC State for whatever reason. So, it should be a game NC State comes out with a win, but I think it could get interesting just because in-state rivalry on the road, tough to win on the road in the ACC if we've learned anything. And then, you look forward to another road matchup with Virginia Tech, and then home for senior day against UNC. Noah, when you're looking at the upcoming schedule for NC State, how are you feeling? Just what's the overall vibe for the Wolfpack moving forward?
I think these next 2 games will show what this Wolfpack team's made of. They just won 2 games they weren't favored to win. They shouldn't, you ask people a month ago, they're like, yeah, no, they're not beating Clemson. They're not beating Miami. Well, they won both of them. But now they're playing 2 games that they should win. Wake Forest, Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech obviously playing really well right now, so it's not as much. But Wake Forest, I know Virginia Tech did just get blown out, but they've been playing well the past 3-4 weeks of college football. So it's kind of one of those things where NC State wins the games it's not supposed to win, and now let's see if it can win the games it's supposed to win. That'll say a lot about this team. In college football, you're supposed to win the game you're supposed to win, and hopefully pull out the ones you're not supposed to. And it's just every sport, but this is a team that's quite interesting. Probably should have won the Louisville game and it didn't. But we'll see what happens at Wake Forest and then Virginia Tech and then obviously North Carolina to close out the year back at home. So I don't know. It'll be fun. It'll be interesting. we'll have a lot more about that on Thursday. But back on the road for 2 weeks here, Ethan.
Yeah, and let's say they do go on the road, they handle business, they beat two of the worst teams in the ACC. Then they come back, and you're looking at an 8-3 record, a 4-game winning streak, and a game against UNC at home. Oh my gosh, that would be electric. That would be Carter Finley Stadium would be rocking for senior day. So hey, that's a lot to get excited about. Like Dorne has said all year, he has maintained it from like the Notre Dame loss to now. This team has a lot to play for. And man, when you look at the upcoming schedule, they have a lot to play for. There is a lot to get excited about this season. That elusive 10-win mark is still on the table if they run the table here. So, 6-3, great start. Great start to the second half of the season, we should say. Great recovery after that Duke loss. Should inspire some confidence in Wolfpack fans. And, if the offense continues to take step forwards and the defense plays at this level, then this could be a really good team down the stretch of the year. A really fun team to watch and a fun team to cover. Grateful to be doing it alongside you, Noah. And thank you to everyone for watching today's episode. That's all from us. We'll be back on Thursday to preview the matchup with Wake Forest. But between now and then, we're going to be writing a ton of analysis from this win. And we'll be, talking about the matchup, talking about a very important official visitor who's on campus right now. So go check that all out. Basketball season also tips off, and we'll have full coverage of that this week. So, yeah, all on the wolfpacker.com. Only $1 to subscribe to our premium content. So go check it out. And thank you all for watching, and have a good rest of your weekend.